Alright, so this is kind of my first video of this channel, and I wanted to talk about just random stuff, random shit, or more specifically, actually, uh, just kind of on fitness, non-fitness related stuff. And this is the new book I just got. It's Divergent. I saw the preview for it in the theater when we went to watch, when me and my wife went to watch Catching Fire, and I'm a big Hunger Games fan. I'm an Ender's, I like the Ender Games series. I love science fiction. I love Game of Thrones. I like going through books and I like watching good movies. I'm not really much into movies, at least not these lately, and I just kind of wanted to I don't know, share my thoughts on just these books and ideas. And I'm going through I don't know if you've actually read Divergent, and if you have, you can relate. But right now I'm on chapter 11, and the book is by Veronica Roth. There is a movie coming out in March 2014. Anyways, it's a really good story, or at least it's starting to become a good story. A lot of people might think it's a rip-off to Hunger Games, and I don't know, maybe it is. Who cares? I really fucking care. I mean, there's Justice League of America, and then there's the X-Men. I mean, and then there's the Avengers. I mean, there was the Beatles when it started, and then there was the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and now there's, I don't know who's ever popular. What's the popular group now? Can't even think of who's popular now. But my point is that there's certain themes in a lot of these music artists and groups and movies and books that get a lot of our attention, and something about a sense, at least, of an oppressive government where you're having force conform to a certain set of rules. In the case of Divergent, going through these first 11 chapters, it's very reminiscent of Hunger Games, where you're kind of in a oppressed government, but it's not quite the same. It's a lot different. It's more like you're having to, I guess actually not that much difference. It just seems nicer, I guess. Anyways, I had some thoughts, and the thoughts has about adolescence. Adolescence and how I'm not a teenager. I'm freaking 31. Have kids. I'm married, and I put this quote on my Facebook wall, Twitter wall, and I put and said, adolescence. The world belongs to the adolescent. And it was a thought, because all these books that I listen to, or a lot of the stuff that I follow, brings me back to being a kid. And I think all of us deep down inside want to be a kid. Maybe not like a little kid, but definitely being like a teenager, when your hormones are raging and you're just kind of making a bunch of bad decisions. I actually won't say they're bad decisions. They're just, you're living the life, you're exploring yourself, and you're just discovering who you are. And it's interesting. Like in Hunger Games, for example, Katniss, I never really followed a strong female character before. I haven't read a whole ton of books, but this it was a really good book that really caught my attention. And part of the reason is you have this strong female character, but what's so funny about this character is she's like still a girl. I mean, she's still a female, and if you've read the Catching Fire and Mockingjay, and the first book, which is Hunger Games, you see this idea of this female character who essentially acts like a female. I mean, she has this guy that she likes, but the circumstance of their living situation is weird, and then she has this other person that she has to go to the games with, and it's which is PETA. I'm talking about Gale and PETA. And there's this kind of dichotomy where, especially in the second movie, it's just funny, because they're just like, you got this girl. I mean, she's a girl, and she's totally like a girl. I don't know what else to say. And she can't decide. Not that she has to decide. She doesn't have to decide. And it's kind of interesting, because all the issues that she has with choosing a boyfriend, she's not picking a boyfriend, but the idea is that she's undecided. Does she love PETA? Does she love Gale? She loves both of them, but then who does she decide? And it seems like the circumstance almost dictates who she chooses. And depending on the story of I think it's Suzanne, the author. I forgot her last name. I can't remember. But anyways, it's pretty cool, because you're like, wow, this is still very reminiscent of what's real, even though it's in science fiction and there's technology and it's a different environment. All the emotions and feelings are pretty much the same, as far as your feelings of love, hate, relationships, friendships, stuff like that. And Divergent, the cool thing about Divergent is that you got this 16-year-old girl. Her name is Beatrice. Beatrice, and she's having to decide for herself where she wants to go and spend the rest of her life, because that's kind of the way the government's set up. And I'm a guy. I grew up as a teenage boy, and I'm a man. And you kind of see this viewpoint of a female, strong female character who's having to make decisions. And it's kind of interesting because when you're young, a lot of the decisions that you make are still very, we always say, as a joke for guys, you say, because she's a girl or she's a female. But in the beginning, for a lot of us, especially as we go into adulthood, from teenage into adulthood, from adolescence, we are still very much the same type of creatures. We still have the same kind of emotions, and we're trying to figure out kind of who we are. And then as you get older, when you're a female, you become more feminine, and as a male, you become more manly. And I guess where I'm kind of going with this is just like these stories and characters are just inspiring, and they're kind of cool because they remind you of what it means to be a kid again. And even though I'm not necessarily trying to be one of these characters or trying to aspire to anything, it's just more like it gives this feeling of nostalgia, and that's one of the things that makes stories good, or what I think makes stories good. They give you this feeling of nostalgia, and especially with books versus movies, and especially in first-person books, because I love first-person books, because you get to basically hang out with somebody. You're essentially reading someone's diary, or in my case, I do audiobooks, so I'm listening to someone's diary of kind of what they go through as they describe this environment of all this change and decisions and just action, because I listen to a lot of action stuff with, science fiction. It's fun to listen to, and I guess that's really it. This is just my first video of talking about Ender's Game, Hunger Games, and Divergent. I'm on the first book of Divergent, and I want to just keep talking about this stuff. And whoever wants to listen is welcome to listen. You can make some comments. Anyways, thanks for watching.